No, you're not invited to something interesting?
Welcome to Yeshiva Daf. We're holding in Menachos Daf Chavov. We're starting in the Mishnah Daf Chavov Daf on top. Look the Mishnah. Nitvu Shirel, if the Shiraim became Tomei, or Nisrifu Shirel, if the Shiraim were burnt, or Avdu Shirel, the Shiraim were lost. Kemidas Rabbi Elazar Ksheiro, or Kemidas Rabbi Yeshua Psula. So Machlekes Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yeshua. According to Rabbi Yeshua, you have to have everything intact. That we learned in Pesach Pesachim, Rashi points out, that he says, I need to have basar and dam. In a regular korban, I have to have meat and I have to have blood. So also here, you have to have everything. You have to have the kremitz and you have to have the shirayim. But according to Rabbi Elazar, that said I don't have to have both, so kremitz is good enough. That's only if the entire shirayim became tummy. But if only a portion became tameh, so then even Rabbi Yeshua says okay. Says the Gemara, we thought to say that only if it became tameh, so then you're at the issue. But if it's lost or burned, no. Meaning if it's lost or burned, so then even if a portion is a problem. So well, what would be the difference? So the shiur mill says you have something left over is good enough. Filo over the sorb nami should be good enough. So the shiur mill say if you hold shiraim is not enough. So nitma my time in the right so why by 2 months good enough? Nitma my time more. So nitma why should be good? Says the Gemara, maybe the merat tzitz. Tzitz is merat, so I don't care. They became tummy. So say all the shiraim became tummy. Why do you tell me the only portion is okay? Saying you're right. If the tuba doesn't work, it doesn't work for the meat, as we saw yesterday. It doesn't work for the achilos, so the tuba doesn't work. Same thing of the sarf. So he told me only the first case. All 3 cases, you have something left, it's okay. But the reason why we're saying nitma, that's the first case, but all of them is something left, it's okay. We talk about korbanos. I don't have the whole korban intact. I can have kazai good enough. So either kazai is basar, kazai is chaylev, zorek sadam. Kechatziza is basar, kechatziza is chaylev, only half kazai is ein zorek sadam. Uve oila, talk about oila. I feel kechatziza is basar, kechatziza is chaylev, zorek sadam. Half of the meat, half of the fat is good enough. Meshekula all goes on the mizbeach. The meat and the fat are alike. Uve mincha. I feel kula kayemes lo yizruk. Mincha, even though it's attack, you don't throw the blood. Mincha ma'avita. What's the shaykh's mincha to korban? This isn't really a quote we saw earlier. Well, mincha. What's the shaykh's mincha? Ma papa mincha's the sachim. Meaning the mincha that comes with the korban. Because the sachim means sometimes you bring with the korban mincha. Saga I mean oil b'ad is a chaos because it comes with the korban. Kegu with the zivchadam is like a korban. And if I have that enough, that it's good enough. Krash for no, I need to have meat, fat, blood, not mincha. We know that. Then I don't need to have, according to both. Even if you don't need to have meat, as long as you have the fat, you're good enough. That's the fat. Your seres, your shtea, kloyo is known. What about these other pieces of the animal that go on the mizbeach? What about that? Tektani over mincho afil kayemes lo yizruk. But mincho, we said you don't throw. Mincho do lo yizruk. I said the shtea kloyo is yizruk. But you have other pieces that go on the mizbeach. You do zruk. Minon. Whatever is a good smell. Kol shetamale lereach nechoyach. Anything that goes on the mizbeach. Why I say both? Because of chaylev, I mean a chaylev you say shtek of klar is light. What's it have effect? Because of chmon reach nechoyach. Because of chmon reach nechoyach, I mean after the mincha. Because of chmon chaylev. So in this pasuk I see what do I need to have? I need to have something, not mincha, but a different part of the korban, and any other part will be okay. So the Mishnah, Shaloi B'Kli Sheres, plus Rashi points out like this. We're not talking about the original Kli Sharis. We're not talking that we put the mincha into the Kli Sharis. That everybody agrees you must have it. But we're talking about after you did Kmitza, you took the portion into his 3 fingers, he didn't put it into the Kli Sharis. So it's possible. Shimon Machshav. Shimon says it's kosher. Here to the Karitza Pa'amayim, if he split the Karitza in 2 times, Ksher. Omar Yudo, Brei Dev Chio, my time in Dev Shimon, what's the reason? Shimon Makokosh, because Shimhi Kachatos Ukeosho. You compare it to Chatos and Osho, the Mincha. But Lord, the Biyad, you want to use the hand, or Yudo, Biyamin, Kechatos. If you want to use your hand, you use the right hand, like we do with the Korban Chatos. Bekli, you want to use the vessel, or Yudo Bismol Keosho. In other words, you can use either your hand or a Kli. You don't have to use the Kli. You can use the hand, but as long as the right hand. That's the shita of Rabbi Dev Chio. I don't have to have a right hand either. Once you did kmitza, after that you could do it in your belt, or you could do it even in a clay vessel. I can do anything I want. Right? So I don't have to have a right hand at all. No, everybody agrees you have to put the kmitza into a kli. It's not true. So 3 shitas over here to understand Shimon. Either you need to have your right hand, or you need to have nothing, or you need to have a kli. So you have fat or limbs or wood. So you use either a hand or a kli, right or left, ksheiri. We just talk about now. We'll mention that in a moment. The spice hand or kli, right or left, ksherim. Do you do the bread of chiyot? Because he said you have to use your right hand, not left. No, the way you read it, when it says right or left, it means if you're using a kli, not if you're using your hand. Tashma agrees another way. Kamtsoi shaloi miklishos. He took it not from the klishos, vikitshos shal klishos, and put it into klishos. Ve'elu viktir shal klishos. He didn't use the klishos to put it on his back. Pasul. Avlazor be'avshir and machshir. So machshir mean b'matakli. They're machshir in their machshir. The fact was b'matakli meaning the original matakli. So right over here, you don't have to have kli. Says the Gemara. Meaning you have to have the matakli, you have to take the kmitza, put it into a kli, and then walk with it to the mizbeach. Meaning, the matakli over here comes to tell you that we're coming to exclude that we could say, according to this man Omar, talk about that he did put it into matakli. You need to have kli sharis, ketzad, koin to mi kli sharis, umekacho big kli sharis. Take a kli sharis, put it into kli sharis. You have to bring it to his bed glishars. Once you took away from glishars, they don't have to use glishars anymore. So rayo against the 3rd sheet that says you have to have glishars. Meaning, no, you have to do a little different gears. Kmitza do from glishars. You have to put it into glishars. But after you did the 2-stage glishars, from here on you don't have to have glishars anymore. That everybody agrees. Toshma another ayah comments being He took from his right hand, put it to his left hand. You bring it back to your right hand. So if he put it into the left, he brings it back to the right. So use your right hand. Why is holding his left hand? He had the wrong machshava, pasul, vein b'kars. There is no kars, because kars is only when you do it the right way. Now, the gears over here, but the side is b'yaminoi. He has his right hand. Like any other chutzah b'koimoy, that there's no kares. Chutzah manoi pigu lechabim lav kares if it's in the right hand. Divrei Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon agree with that. Once he puts it into the left, you can't fix it anymore. My time, mishum the bike kedusha to put it into the kli. Once you put it into the left hand, it's like the blood falling. The stage 1 needs to be going to the kli. You miss that stage 1, It's over. It's like blood that fell into a behemoth, it's over. Also, Shabbos. Alright, that's what the Rabbanan say. See, you can use with your hand, you have to put kli. That's exactly what he's going to argue. What happens if the koimens did not go into a kli? The Rabbanan say it's over. Shimon says it's not over. I'm not going to say you have to have kli, according to Shimon. So Ryan not against Rav Nachman. So they will like read the bridge of Chiyah B'Sayah, you have to have a right hand, because it says your right hand. The Rabbi Yana, let me have to you, because according to Rabbi Yana, you don't have to have the right hand. I hold like the Tana they said before, that says Yamin or Smoil. Before we corrected according to Yudo, I disagree with that correction. In other words, I hold it's a Machlokes Tanoim, and I hold like the first time. Continues the Gemara. Ektir koim to pa'amayim sheriff did it twice. Kosher omav Yeshua bar Ben Levi pa'amayim v'loi pa'amei pa'amayim. You can do only twice, not more. Can't split it more than twice, more than two halves. Means you can do it. You can split it as much as you want. My but now it's a chiluk. Omav zoyra yesh koim mitzpachat b'shnei zeisim v'yesh aktara pchuto mikazais ikabenai. Meaning, do you have kmitza leza to zeisim? And do you have aktar leza kazais? Shumalin is so by encourage pachad b'shnei zeisim and aktar pchuto mikazais. When you do koimitz, it will be two kazais. Now, when you do, the minimum amount to put in his back is kazais. So that's why you can split it to half and do two kazaisim, but not more than it. If you could have less than two kazaisim, and he may so when the Mishnah says you can divide it, you see it can be less kazais. So according to Shumi Levi, you have to have at least a minimum kazais. According to Rabbi Yechezkel, no. Okay? Now, here there's one of the rayas that they bring that the zaysim changed. Because there's no way to have two kazaisim today in one hand. That's all right. When does koimis become effective? The minute the fire catches onto it, it makes the avodah, and the mincha is processed. It needs to be the majority of the fire. Explain to your Shita. We speak about kitor, we compare it to kivshot, and kivshot ma'al kitor, the smoke of the kivshot doesn't go up until the fire burns most of it. And what is this called? Ktoiris. So you compare it to kitor, so it needs to be the majority. Only Rabbi Baravad Amrit Amidcho, your Talmidim said, Omer Amnamron, Nimmer Amnamron, Tani Ein Liel Dvorim Shedarkom Nikor Balaylo, only things that you, in the night that okay. The Raisa says that any dvorim shedarkom balaylo that you do in the night, like what? Evorim, the limbs, udorim, the fat. Shemalim magdirim boy Hashem, you can put it onto the mizbeach in the evening. Umisakli, they're being consumed. Dvorim kol alayla kolo. But dvorim shedarkom nikor bayoim, wherever you put it during the day. Kegona koimetz kvitzo, belavoino, the spice. Factoires uminchas koyanim, they go on his back. Uminchas koyam Yeshua mincha v'koyin gadol. Uminchas the sochim, part of the carbon. Shemalo umagdiram mivoya shemesh. You could do it in the evening. So more stops right away. The Bryce said in the evening. V'alma dak the karbayim. It has to be in the day. Ela ivoya shemesh, right before the evening. Shemisakli moyichli kol alaylo minayin. How do you know that it can be done the whole night? How do you know that? Maybe it have to be done in the day. It could be, I'll tell you, the entire, you can put in his back, even things that have to be there during the day. Says the Gemara, but according to Rabbi Yechezkel, it needs to burn the majority. If I did it right before nightfall, it won't have the majority. Lekasha, kan likud kan nater. This is what I'll tell you. To be received by the mizbeach, even as small as fires, is good enough to start the process. But to be matir the mincha, you can eat it, that you need to have ruboy. Talk about really after shkia. So then you can't put it in mizbeach. Meaning you put it in mizbeach during the day, and it fell out. You can put it back after the evening. Talk about poikim. Ktoris falls on the Mizbeach. You don't bring back the Ktoris. And one of the things in the list that we mentioned is Bryce says Ktoris. The fire could the Mizbeach. You don't bring back Ktoris that fell off. And we said over your Ktoris. Says the Gemara, you're right, Ktoris you have to remove. That's not in the list. Good. Omalasi, Kiposh Blazor Menachos, Blazor Menachos, Boyach had the following question. He put the wood instead of beneath the koimitz, on top of the koimitz. Now, is that no way to do it? Take it. Yechezkel, another question. He put the limbs, and on top of the limbs he put the wood. Now, it has to be on the wood. Or the Pasuk says, does it have to be in the wood or not? So the Gemara, take it. He put the limbs next to the wood, not on top. It says to be on top. Al means on top. Why? It says on top. Al could be near.
Could be near. Burn them that way, no?
Yeah, good question. Maybe there's small woods also that come out, but it says on the main wood has to be maybe next to it. Or you do also al mamish you can't do it next to it. It has to be on top of it. Says the Gemara, take it. So we have these figures take it. Just we'll end with the following thing. Just a nice oil over here. The Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan, is the one who says also in Maseches Obakamo, Ishu Mishu Chitzov. What does Ishu Mishu Chitzov mean? When a fire burns, it's like I'm throwing an arrow. It's considered to be that I did it. That's very good. Very famous Ruki Yosef. He asks, so how do you light candles on Shabbos? It's considered to be that you're lighting it, so it's burning on Shabbos. You're lighting candles on Shabbos.
Then you're chayav.
You're chayav. Says the Ruki Yosef, no. When you light it, it's considered to be whatever you did in the beginning. Everything is right there in the beginning. That's the Ruki Yosef, famous Ruki Yosef. Ask all the Chayrim, so how do I light Chanukah candles? If I did everything in the beginning, I didn't light Chanukah candles at night. Comes to Pesach and says, Pesach Frank says, there's a difference. There is what the Adam does. That is done everything in the beginning. Then there is the fire itself. The Adam did everything in the beginning, but the fire didn't lit till later. You have called the Gavur and Chevtzev, the person, and you have the fire itself. Of course, the person did it in the beginning, but the fire didn't happen till later. He brings many rayos. One of the rayos is, it says that Beis Hamikdash, we should have done Tisha B'Av and Yud B'Av. Why? Because the main fire was on the 10th of Av. Who cares when the main fire was? It was lit before. You see there's a difference when you light it, it's regarding the Adam. But the fire itself is later. You have two rayos from Mar Gemara. He brings. One raya is the one says, according to Rabbi Yochanan, you need the fire to consume the majority. Why? Once you start, everything has already happened. See, no, everything happened for the man, not for the fire. And the second raya is the one says, you have to put things on the Mizbeach. What happens if you do something that you start in the day and continue in the night? You have to have a special pasuk. Why do you have a special pasuk?
Well, you start Shalom earlier, right?
Well, yeah, same thing. So why? Same idea. The reason why you need it is to tell you, because the fire is not considered to be done until it's done. The Adam did what he's supposed to do, but not the fire. More about that on the Shomach Shol on the Daf. Anyway, Kol Tuv and Be'ez Hashem continue with the Mishnah on Shabbos.